Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of this little QuickCurve series. So the first video was going over the features in QuickCurve, what every option does. In this one, we're just doing like a time lapse as I work through this samurai scene. I talk about like why I'm choosing certain things, what the process is like, and yeah, if you're new to QuickCurve, this is a tool that Jama Jurabaev and I have been building. We have a couple of them. We have QuickShape, QuickDeform, QuickCurve, and these tools are all built with the purpose of drawing in 3D. And so that's what we're trying to bring to Blender. Okay, so I'm starting with a side view drawing here with QuickCurve. Now, there's a million ways that you can start out, but the idea is to just have some kind of simple mannequin. In this case, I went with side view and then scale it out, just mirror it, and you kind of have a base that you can either use as is to build on top of or remesh it and sculpt it. And then it depends on how detailed you want to go with the sculpt. And I tried a bunch of those things, tried a couple of different levels of detail, and you'll see that later on. But for now, I just have this first one. So I'm starting with, like, for the armor shell pieces of the samurai, I'm basically thinking about it like a piece of clay where I just draw it and it has that hand-drawn feel because of that, and then I'm taking advantage of the 3D aspect by just moving it into place and scaling it and adjusting it how I see fit. So I think that's one of the ways that you kind of get the best of both worlds of 3D, but then it also looks 2D. And then I switched to Surface Draw. And it's kind of like Surface Draw is really good for the medium and small shapes. Usually, in some cases, like for environments, you could do big shapes with it as well. But for something like a character, it seems like, in my experience, the workflow is draw it kind of in 3D space, and then for the big shapes, and then for the small and medium, you can switch over to surface and start doing all these little details. Here's just a case of me trying some different things out until I find what I like. There, what happened was I just deleted some parts. Like, I turned the video off. I was like, let me think about this, and then redid a few parts, but for the most part, it's the same thing. And then I started with a revolve with QuickCurve for the helmet shape. And eventually I realized later on it's just easier to kind of do it with polygons. And that's really the thing, you want to use QuickCurve for what it's good for, and then, for like 10-20%, if you need to go into polygons or go into sculpt, that's great. I think QuickCurve, it's really good for the base shape, and then to sculpt on top, either you remesh it first or you don't. But I think it's just so good to get the initial form with that hand-drawn look, kind of where you want it, how you want it, and then to go in and either sculpt on top or go into surface draw and keep refining. I turned on pressure for that one. So it's really, there's only like a couple of different settings that you need. I'm switching direction, I'm switching tapering, I'm switching pressure, and then I'm just working with the work plane to kind of figure out where I want the drawing to start. In this case, because the isolated mode is kind of broken right now, it'll like still see other objects. So I'm having to, you saw me move it out of place so that I can draw on the helmet properly, but that will be fixed in the next update. helmet a little too big there. Okay. It's honestly like I'm fine with that as a base if I just wanted to leave that and then do a more refined one. And that's kind of how I approached it. Oh, here's a really good one. So I've realized that, you know, when you draw the shape, you kind of want some kind of bend to it. So the lattice is really great at doing that, and I'm doing that through QuickDeform. And in the future, in the next QuickDeform update, I think it will just be automated to where it's like you can bend it kind of around its middle, you can taper it, you can taper it and bend it and rotate it based on different points, like the 3D cursor or maybe just wherever your mouse is, and to really just streamline that process. Because I found myself like all the time I'm drawing a curve and then I have to add divisions to it and then I add a lattice. So there's some more automation that we will be adding into these tools. These are by no means, you know, finished, but this kind of workflow where you draw the base shape, manipulate it, QuickDeform lattice into some kind of more complicated form has been really, it was very nice to work this way. This part's cool. I'm just kind of thinking about, like, I don't know exactly what these things are. I'm just thinking about in a very 2D, like painterly way, like when the light is on, the form is going to cast some kind of shadow, and I'm just trying to draw something that will create cool shadows that will make it look detailed. That makes sense. Again here, you know, just if something catches the light, great. That's all I'm trying to do here. If I wanted to go crazy, then I could remesh it, I could sculpt it, I could continue to draw on it. It just depends on how much time you want to take. Here I'm using the or the curves from edges type of thing. I think we called it quick tubes. So that's what I did there. Again, just adding little details, little something to catch light, cast a shadow, and then just get out of there. It's such a like not just a drawing way of working, but like a painterly way of working as well. This is sped up 5 times, by the way. So I think this whole project, like if you just sit down and focus, it was like a day, but it was spread out over a course of a couple of days because I was, you know, taking notes of like what do we want to add, what do we want to improve. So it was very helpful to do a simple project like this so I can see where we're going to take the future updates. Skipped ahead a little bit there, but I'm doing a bunch of samurai, so you'll get to see the other ones where I do like the sword and things and the mask. I did a couple different versions here, trying to focus on like different themes, like different variations of the same idea of a samurai. I think that other one I just remeshed it, and it looks kind of nice when that's done too. But then, you know, you lose the material, so you want to maybe remesh it in like bunches of pieces. Kind of figure that out, but for this I was just using like a gray material, so I didn't bother with any of that. And that was a nice example of just drawing it, remeshing it, being able to sculpt it into place because you have a lot of geometry, and then switch to surface mode, add details. I found that that was like a very freeing way to work. Started reusing little drawn pieces. It's kind of cool to have like these kit bash pieces, but they look drawn and, you know, handmade. I think that is the first samurai. Maybe I added a few more things. Adding some kind of belt here, and then I went into QuickShape to just cut out a circle in the middle. Added the little belt thing back. I like doing these. It would just take so long to manipulate those into place. Draw it. Done. So a lot of these times where you see me go into edit mode, I'm kind of pausing mentally and going in and writing down like what can I do, what can we do to add some kind of tool that will let you not have to go into edit mode and not interrupt your creative process. So version 2 is going to be a really big update for QuickCurve, where we're going to solve a lot of those problems. We're going to solve the QuickDeform lattice thing, like we just really need a bend and a taper. Just wrapping up this one samurai before I do a couple more. Okay, here, so this is the thing I was talking about earlier where you can kind of remesh things and go and sculpt them. You have a nice base to start from. Obviously this isn't a sculpting tutorial or anything, I'm just doing something really simple. Again, just kind of enough for there to be a shadow that kind of looks good when there's light. That's all I'm going for. Almost done here. And with this, you know, you could just use a scanned mesh, obviously. But the thing is, you know, for work I would, but for something like this, I'm just trying to push the kind of personality a little more. I want to have a little bit more gesture, a little bit more character, you know, like, is this guy a warrior? Is it a princess? Is it some kind of specific thing with a specific kind of mood? As opposed to all of those scans are just like an office guy, you know, just like some worker. It doesn't have any kind of like artistry to it, I would say. So that's just something that I'm personally trying to go for, and that's why I really like doing these kinds of base meshes. Almost done here. That's what I was missing. Okay, so here I'm using a QuickDeform feature. I think I've covered it in the tutorial, but in the previous ones where it's just so much faster to use QuickDeform's extract instead of trying to do it through Blender. Again, just trying to get something cool and different from the other versions that I did. Okay. Now I think we're ready. Okay, so now I'm now I'm doing the teeth. And again, it's kind of set the work plane or the alignment up in a way that makes sense for this task. And in this case, I just ended up drawing it for that one and then moving it into place. On these, I use that first point depth align and just had a taper on there. So I got those teeth. Now I'm just adding little details with surface draw. And it just comes out not perfect, and that's really what I love about it. All those little mistakes just add up to new shadows being cast and details being implied, and that's what I'm going for. A little bit of slowdown here that I was gonna fix later in the code. But typically it's pretty fast. There's just like a very specific situation where you can get a little bit of slowdown, but nothing major. Trying out different things. I don't think I kept this. Kind of like it though. Yeah. It's weird to see me work like this. Okay, I think just the final details here, and this samurai will be wrapped up. I ended up rigging these later, but for now I was just doing a little bit of an adjustment to the pose. I had some bad geo here, so I was just trying to figure out what I can do, but then I don't think I kept it. Yeah. Just trying stuff out. You know, it was fun. I think it was really fun to work this way and kind of not deal with topology or extruding anything at all. Okay, here we go. Final details. Get the alignment right. reusing little parts. I think it would be really cool to have a kit bash library of these kinds of hand-drawn details, because everyone releases these really clean, nice ones. But hopefully we can do some hand-drawn ones. And now, so here what I did is I just sculpted on that base mesh a little bit, or a similar kind of base mesh, and now I'm doing a different version. So here I'm just going right into the drawing on surface to create my shapes, forms. Again, the same kind of idea where it's like, it's a piece of clay, I put it down, and then I manipulate it into place. There's just so many different ways to do it, and this is just one way that I tried. I mean, it's kind of why it's so hard to make tutorials about these tools so far. It's like, there's so many different ways to approach it, and I really like that. So with time, I think we'll be able to cover every possible route, but for now, here's a couple, you know. I think on this one, I went back to the revolve to do the kind of spherical shapes. That's always a good option, but then I just ended up sculpting on top of that base mesh. And polygon editing, just staying efficient, you know, 10 to 20% can be done with polygons and sculpting, and the rest, 80%, can be done with QuickCurve and QuickDeform and QuickShape. I think this one was my like kind of loose one. Oh, here, so I selected a bunch of pieces and remeshed them, which is a really great way, as I mentioned. After that, you sculpt it up, and then you switch to surface and do some details, which I'm pretty sure I'll do later. Yeah. So really with this samurai, you get this kind of an organic mesh in a way with QuickCurve. You're doing some organics, but then you're also kind of doing hard surface. And it kind of shows the versatility, which, as I've mentioned many times now, it's a real priority for us to be able to do all types of things. When working this way, like I've mentioned, it's really the most important aspect is probably to think in 2D and think about that light casting shadows, make it kind of implying detail and not just like this is exactly what this thing looks like. It should just be like from a distance with the light and potentially a texture. Will it look good enough? And if it does, to me, that's enough, because that's what I'm trying to do as a concept artist. I'm not trying to, you know, go into ZBrush and make this like a 40 million polygon thing. You could do it in Blender even, and I'm sure we will at some point show that as well. But for this, just keeping it nice and simple and low poly. Here's the sword. I messed up a couple times on drawing this one. I was trying different things out, and then I just went with this one. Put it into place. Little spear for his back. Now I just deleted it. Okay. Oh yeah, here I tried the remesh just to see. I find myself like I'll just do something totally useless because I'm thinking about like what my next step is. I just moved his foot like 4 times for no reason. But Now, so this, I took that that mesh and I just sculpted on it for another hour. Just, it was kind of a test for me just to see like how far I can push the anatomy. But this is what I got, and now I'm going in and doing another version. So this is now the third different one. And I think I ended up doing 4 different ones. But I believe that this is the last one in this video. So here I'm kind of not using QuickCurve as much for this moment. I'm just using polygon editing and then Quick Solidify from QuickDeform. And I really love this feature that we have where it just draws with the mirror. I cover how that works in the part 1, but it just works quite well. I think I feel like there's no other program that has that. I don't, or at least I don't know. But it seems like like everything should just have that. You should be able to just create objects with mirror automatically. But we have it, and I think it's really useful. Again, like that curved shape is so annoying to make in in box modeling or whatever. But here you just draw it and rotate it and it's done. And these kinds of like antlers. The curve is obviously just great for this kind of stuff. Just first click depth, move your viewport, and it just aligns perfectly and it's exactly what you want. And then I think I ended up twisting them. Yeah, I really like this feature. This is cool. Just adds a little bit more, a little bit extra. And some new stuff. I like mixing the square brush with the round brush. It just creates that natural contrast right there for you. And then in QuickCurve to switch, you just press Alt D, and you get that, and that's really cool, I think. I think I was trying something here that I'm gonna show a little bit later. I just should have cut that out, but I do a much clearer demonstration of that in just a minute here, I think. Okay. Cut forward a little bit to where I already did the bow. Now I'm just wrapping up some of the details. I think I switch over here from the square to the round in a second to create some variety. Oh, and ended up doing a mask for this one as well. Just the same, press Control E with QuickDeform, it just extracts it right away and kind of clears the mask and sets everything up for you. And then you can just sculpt. I think I went with a more demonic looking one here. the kind of like forest demon with the, you know, he's got the bow and arrow, he's got the creepier mask. Trying to have some variety in these samurais. Okay, here I go, you know, for the round, do something more organic. These little cables. Ropes, actually. Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so I thought this, like having the round here, kind of contrasts nicely with all of the square that I've been doing. Okay, so now this is what I wanted to show you. So I did this square and I did this profile, and the profile can be any kind of shape you want. The square can be anything, but I'm using the array features to kind of draw with those objects, and then I'm pressing Shift U to change the spacing. And so this is creating like some really cool details really fast. I think it would be very annoying to have to place each of those objects manually, and then it doesn't have to be a square. You know, like I said, it could be some kind of complicated thing that you would design. So that's very useful. And it's just a nightmare to set this up in Blender. It would take you so much longer than just drawing it. So and then the profile thing that I'm going to show very soon is even cooler. That's probably my favorite part of this whole process. And it was Jama's idea, of course. He's so like a creative genius. Just gives the best ideas. Oh, here's another example of the lattice. You know, so once we automate that to be able to taper it with just one click in QuickDeform, that's going to be beautiful. I think I'm about to go in with the ornaments. Okay, here we go. Nope, not yet. Just a few more details first. Yes, it's so fast to do these details. I mean, I don't even know how, like, it would take so long to do that. And it's just nothing, and it looks drawn. Everything I want. Adding some buckles and stuff. Again, just something from a distance sort of looks like I did something, and that's good enough. I'm clearing up a little space here for the ornaments now. I went too much and too detailed too soon. Classic problem. Big, medium, small, every time. Okay, so the ornaments, the profile basically is just something that will look like an ornament when you draw it. And the big thing here is that if you try to do this in default Blender, because of how it aligns at like complete random, it just doesn't look nearly as good because it'll draw like one kind of flat and then one super wide. If you get what I mean, it's like rotating around its axis. And what we've tried to do is at least get it like 90% consistent 90% of the time. So because of that, you can do this kind of stuff and get what you're expecting. You can draw it on the surface. You don't have to worry about it kind of clipping off into space. It just always stays on the surface. And it's a very nice way to add some details. You could combine it with the lazy mouse from QuickDeform. You can remesh it. There's really a ton of different avenues you can take it down. But I thought this looked pretty cool. And then you could set up, you know, a bunch of different profiles that you like and just switch between them really quick by pressing J. A lot of options there. Try to turn it into a little bit of a dragon. And then if I want to fix the rotation or change the rotation, I'll just go into edit mode and Control T. But we're gonna make a shortcut for that outside of it. You can just do it pretty quickly. Okay, I think that this last samurai is done. And now I'm doing a little demonstration of the foliage. Basically, I set up a profile, I set up pressure, and I set up a taper. And now you can just draw. Oh, and I set up a random size. So now you can just draw things. I'm not sure what I was testing there, but yeah. Once you get the settings right, you're just off to the races. I did those flat, but now if you change the alignment mode to along normal, it'll kind of draw well off the plane. And this is something that I covered heavily in the previous video, but just showing it again because we really like this feature. It's just so useful. So I just drew these clumps, and I'm constantly kind of rotating the viewport in order to get variation in the rotation. But in the next version, certainly there will be a random rotation as well, because I found that would be very useful. I think these are the final clumps that I actually ended up using. And then I used QuickShape a little bit here just to create some rocks. Just so fast to, you know, this feels like 3D code. Just boom, 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 cut it. Get some nice rocks. More rock. And now I'm doing the tree because my idea was that he's by this huge tree. For this one, I just went square brush, draw in space, and then along surface or on surface. Get the roots, and pressure was on this whole time for this one. And again, rotating the view using first click depth, which is just basically probably the best way to work with QuickCurve. But I mean, it's hard to say it's the best. It depends on what you're doing. But for this, definitely the best. because you need to branch out. Okay, and then this one I started the video a little bit late, but using the round brush for this one. This is just a different version of a tree. Thought maybe this one has like a canopy and actual leaves, which I just kind of roughed in towards the end. But again, same thing here. First click depth. You're going to start from your first point and branch out. It's fun. Yeah, so this is how I'm doing the leaves. Obviously, this isn't a final type of thing. This whole thing really is just a sketch, like a one-day type of experiment. But when there's fog, and on top of it, you can also just put a texture on there. It was fine. So here is the kind of scene that I put together that just shows the different versions, the different assets. And I do have this available for download if you're interested. You can do anything you want with them. I did some gesture drawing practice as well to warm up. And this is the final assembly, like going to war type of scene. All in Eevee. And this one with some depth of field. I was trying to go for that like Rashomon type of look here in this second one, with the like leaves, shadow of the leaves, the heavy scene. So here I have all the flying leaves, the grass, the tree there in the background, God rays, and a character standing there. And that is it. So just as an ending to this video, I know that this was kind of just like a process video, like a narrated time lapse. It's not really a Blender tutorial. It just focused on QuickCurve, but you might want to know about how like I'm rigging stuff or how I'm setting up the light or anything like that if you are kind of new and just discovered the video. So I wanted to just recommend the best resources that I think are out there. Obviously, my partner Jama has made some incredible Blender tutorials. He's who I learned from. You can get that one, this one, incredible, and the tools, QuickShape, QuickCurve, it's on his page. I'll have all of the links in the description. QuickDeform is on my page. And then I also want to shout out Jad Saber for this tutorial. It's great. And Florent as well. This tutorial is incredible. And then outside of Blender, just general assets. I just wanted to point this out. Obviously, like my assets that I did here and that I included and that I showcased in the video are just like the simple little sketches. And but you might want something kind of more photo scan, more high quality. And to me, these are like, if there's AAA where it's like Naughty Dog or something, I think this is quadruple A. I mean, this team has been doing some amazing stuff. So I highly recommend checking it out. And yeah, okay. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that this video was somehow helpful in just being able to explain my thought process while I'm working with QuickCurve. And then, I have the other videos on my channel that show how all of the features of QuickCurve. And yeah, stay tuned. More is coming. Thank you.